out in the North Pacific, Forrester Island rises from the sea like a fortress built from stone, forest and fog. Waves strike its cliffs without pause. Spruce trees grip the slopes above them, while sea stacks vanish and reappear beneath passing mist. From a distance, the island seems empty, an isolated mass resisting wind and water. But the stillness is an illusion. Inside the cliffs, beneath roots and along ledges only centimeters wide, an enormous biological city is waiting. Burrows run through the damp soil, eggs rest on bare rock, hidden chambers hold birds that will not emerge until darkness returns. As daylight strengthens, puffins, murres, gulls and raptors begin to claim the air above the island. They form the visible shift, the seabird life of Forrester Island moving between cliff and ocean in search of food. Yet another population remains underground. When the sun fades and the daytime hunters withdraw, storm petrels will rise from cracks and burrows in numbers large enough to transform the night sky. Here, one city does not replace another. It passes the island from shift to shift, keeping life in motion through every hour of the day. The island before the city wakes. Dawn is still below the horizon when the last fork-tailed storm petrels begin their return. They come in low over the Pacific, small grey bodies rising and falling with the dark surface. Behind them, the open sea is almost without shape. Ahead, Forrester Island appears only in fragments, a black wall of cliff, a broken sea stack, the blurred outline of spruce bending above the fog. The birds have spent the night beyond the island, searching the surface waters for small marine prey. Now daylight is becoming a greater danger. Before the sky brightens, they must reach the protection of rock, soil, and roots. Beneath them, the ocean releases a sudden breath. A humpback whale rises through the grey water, exhales, and rolls beneath the surface again. Some humpbacks travel close to 8,000 kilometers between northern feeding areas and tropical breeding grounds. Here, in the productive waters of southeast Alaska, its enormous journey is sustained by some of the smallest animals in the sea, krill and schooling fish strained through rows of baleen. The disturbance fades, but another hunter is already passing closer to shore. A killer whale moves beneath the fog, its dark back briefly cutting the surface. Vision offers little in the dim water around the cliffs. Sound does more. Clicks travel outward and return from submerged rock, fish, and the steep underwater edge of the island. The landscape hidden above the waves continues below them, and the orca reads that unseen terrain through echoes. Overhead, the storm petrels keep moving. One crosses the final stretch of water and reaches the forested slope. It drops between wet ferns, lands beside a moss-covered opening, and disappears almost immediately. At barely the length of a human hand, it has crossed an oceanic night to return to a chamber no larger than its body. Inside, the island becomes a different world. Water gathers on moss and falls into the darkness. A banana slug extends its tentacles across a soaked root. Fine grains of soil tumble from the ceiling as the petrel squeezes past a lattice of spruce roots. Those roots are not merely part of the forest above. They form the supports of the hidden colony below, binding the wet ground around burrows, cracks, and nesting chambers. The storm petrel folds its wings and settles. During the breeding season, a female produces only one egg, an egg that may equal roughly 1/5 of her own body mass. For now, the bird is still. Outside, the last members of the night shift are vanishing underground. Farther down the slope, waves wash over the tidal rocks. Stellar sea lions lie where the sea meets the island, their bodies dark with spray. A mature bull can grow to about 3.4 meters and exceed 1,100 kilograms. Yet even an animal of that size is repeatedly hidden by the surge. He raises his head above the smaller females and juveniles, then lowers it again as another sheet of water spreads across the stone. The fog begins to loosen. First, the lower cliffs emerge, then the forest edge. Then thousands of narrow ledges, cracks, and openings become visible across the rock. Forrester Island supports more than 1 million breeding birds from at least 13 species, but the true scale of the colony is revealed gradually, one movement at a time. A tufted puffin appears at the mouth of a burrow, its black body framed by wet grass and exposed roots. It pauses as wind moves across the slope. Nearby, common murres stand shoulder to shoulder on bare stone. They build no nest. Each pair guards a single pointed egg directly on the ledge, its shape helping it turn in a tight arc rather than roll easily toward the drop. More heads rise from the cliffs. Wings begin to open, calls gather, until the sound of the bird starts to compete with the surf below. The island has not awakened all at once. The sea has delivered its night travelers back to the earth. The tidal rocks have begun to stir. And now, above the hidden burrows, the first doors of the daylight city are opening. The ocean that feeds the city. The first doors of the daylight city are now open. From burrows beneath spruce roots, tufted puffins step onto the wet slope and face the sea. Below them, common murres crowd bare ledges, each pair guarding a single egg directly on the rock. The two birds share the same cliff, but depend on different foundations: earth for the puffins, stone for the murres. A puffin starts toward the edge. Its short legs carry it over moss and grass until the ground disappears. It drops, catches the wind rising along the cliff, and beats its compact wings hard. Those wings are poorly suited to effortless gliding, but they are built for the second half of the journey. The open air is already contested. Glaucous-winged gulls ride the updrafts with barely a wing beat. A bald eagle watches from the spruce above, while a peregrine falcon crosses the cliff face. In a hunting dive, a peregrine can exceed 320 kilometers per hour. The puffin cannot outrun it. Its best defense is the traffic of the colony. Hundreds of birds leaving at once, each briefly lost in the movement of the whole. Beyond the sea stacks, the puffin drops onto the water and dives. Under the surface, the awkward flyer changes completely. Its wings become propellers, and its webbed feet steer through green water. Tufted puffins can pursue prey to depths of about 60 meters, following the submerged island through broken rock, narrow channels, and kelp moving with the swell. Ahead, Pacific sand lance compresses into a flashing bait ball. Their narrow bodies turn almost simultaneously, making the school appear like one larger animal. These forage fish are a major link in North Pacific food webs, and their abundance can influence seabird breeding success. The defense lasts only while the school holds together. Pacific salmon strike from below. Thick-billed murres descend from above, driving themselves with their wings. Near the kelp, a pelagic cormorant pursues fish along the rocky bottom. Each attack opens a gap. The puffin turns into one of them and catches a sand lance, then another. Backward-pointing structures inside its bill hold the fish while it continues hunting. A successful adult may carry between 5 and 20 small fish at once. Nearby, a sea otter rises among the kelp with hard-shelled prey. Unlike sea lions, it has no insulating blubber. More than 1 million hairs may cover each square inch of its body, trapping dry air against the skin. To maintain its high metabolism, it may consume 20 to 30% of its body mass each day. Floating on its back, it strikes the shell against a stone on its chest until the meal opens. The puffin is already climbing back toward daylight. Its bill is full, but the journey is not finished. A gull follows, waiting for the bird to surrender the fish. The puffin stays low over the waves, rises against the cliff, and slips beneath the gull at the last moment. It lands beside the same dark opening from which it emerged. The fish pass into the burrow. Water drains from the adult's feathers into the moss. A few scales fall between roots that brace the chamber overhead. Fungi, springtails, and beetles process what the chick leaves behind, returning marine nutrients to the soil beneath the forest. Across Forrester Island, this route is repeated thousands of times. Burrow to cliff, air to water, then back underground. But as morning advances, the light flattens and the wind weakens. Bodies built to conserve heat in cold water begin to hold too much of it. On the ledges, murres open their bills. On the rocks below, sea lions grow still. The city has been fed. Now it must slow down. The silence beneath the colony. The city has been fed. Now it must slow down. By midday, the soft grey light over Forrester Island has flattened the forest, cliffs and sea into muted layers. The morning traffic thins. Wings no longer fill every open space, and the calls from the upper ledges settle into a lower, restless murmur. For the common murres, stillness brings a different challenge. Their dense plumage is built to conserve heat in cold Pacific water. Packed shoulder to shoulder on exposed rock, the birds begin to accumulate more warmth than they can safely retain. One opens its bill and rapidly vibrates the moist tissues of its throat. Through gular fluttering, heat escapes by evaporation without requiring the muscular effort of full panting. Others lower their dark wings away from their bodies, allowing the coastal air to reach the less insulated skin beneath. But the birds cannot simply leave. Each pair guards a single egg on bare stone. Incubation commonly lasts between 26 and 39 days, with the parents exchanging duties while one returns to sea. Far below, the tidal rocks have also fallen quiet. Stellar sea lions lie beyond the strongest wash of the surf, their immense bodies spread across the stone. Water removes body heat roughly 25 times faster than air, so most of a sea lion's fat is stored in a thick layer of insulating blubber. The flippers work differently. They contain little insulation, and their blood vessels lie close to the surface. By extending or repositioning a flipper, a sea lion can release heat or absorb it from the surrounding environment. For now, the bulls remain still, preserving the energy reserves needed for the physical demands of the breeding season. In a sheltered cove, harbor seals rest on pebble-covered rocks. Adults generally measure about 1.2 to 1.5 meters and weigh roughly 100 to 115 kilograms. Unlike sea lions, their pelvic bones are fused, preventing them from rotating the hind flippers beneath the body and walking on land. Instead, they move by wriggling and pulling forward with their foreflippers. At rest, several raise their heads and hind flippers, creating the familiar curved, banana-like posture. Their whiskers lie motionless now, but underwater, each vibrissae can detect subtle disturbances left behind by moving prey. Above the cove, the coastal forest meets the cliff. Sitka spruce and western hemlock lean into the wind, while their roots bind the damp soil beneath them. The canopy blocks much of the midday light, preserving a cooler layer of moss, fern, and decaying wood below. Into this darkness, a tufted puffin retreats. Both members of a pair use their bills and feet to excavate the tunnel. An average burrow extends about 86 centimeters into the soil, ending in a chamber lined with grass, leaves, feathers, and occasionally algae. Within it lies a single chick. The egg that produced it required about 42 days of incubation. The young bird may remain underground for roughly another 40 days before fledging. Here, the forest is part of the nest. Roots reinforce the ceiling. Moss reduces the movement of loose soil around the entrance. The surrounding earth softens sudden changes in temperature and shields the chick from the wind, noise, and aerial predators above. But the chamber is not sealed from the wider ecosystem. A silver fish scale lies beside fragments of grass and shed feathers. Fungal threads spread through the debris. Springtails graze on fungi and decomposing material, while millipedes and other small arthropods shred larger pieces of organic matter. A ground beetle waits beneath a strip of bark. A centipede searches through narrow spaces between the roots. Spiders hold silk across passages used by smaller insects. Ticks and fleas remain close to the birds, drawing nourishment directly from the animals that created this hidden habitat. Nothing is wasted for long. The fish carried from the Pacific feeds the chick first. What remains supports fungi, invertebrates, and the soil that holds the burrow together. Beyond the forest floor, the cliffs continue below the waterline. Dark inlets cut into the island, and submerged shelves descend toward a colder, dimmer world. A giant Pacific octopus moves across the rock. Its outstretched arms may span between 2 and 4 meters. A female can carry approximately 2,240 suckers, each capable not only of gripping but also of detecting chemical traces, allowing the animal, in effect, to taste what it touches. A crab crosses the rock only a short distance away. The octopus does not chase. It disappears in plain sight and waits. Across Forrester Island, midday silence is not inactivity. Murres cool themselves while guarding eggs. Sea lions and seals recover on exposed stone. Puffins shelter growing chicks beneath the forest, while a smaller community dismantles the remains of every meal. Beneath the sea, an ambush hunter continues working among the submerged cliffs. Then the air begins to change. The day's warmth weakens. Cooler wind passes through the spruce and descends toward the water. Inside the burrows, puffins begin to stir. Offshore, rhinoceros auklets settle onto the grey swells, and murres along the lower ledges turn their bodies back toward the sea. The silence has done its work. Soon, the city will move again. When the night city rises, the silence of midday does not last. By late afternoon, cooler air slides down the spruce-covered ridges, and the first birds return to the water. Offshore, rhinoceros auklets gather in loose rafts on the grey swell. Their broad, webbed feet trail beneath them, releasing heat into water colder than the air. Nearby, thick-billed murres leave the lower ledges one after another, spreading their wings at the final instant before striking the surface and vanishing into the next feeding cycle. Within the kelp beds, a sea otter has stopped hunting. It rolls onto its back and draws several tough brown fronds across its body. The kelp works as a living anchor, holding the sleeping animal inside the coastal forest, instead of allowing currents to carry it toward open water. Forrester Island is changing with the weather. Fog pushes inland through the ravines. Grasses on the upper bluffs flatten beneath stronger gusts. At the cliff base, bull kelp stretches in the surge, then recoils as the water withdraws. The island remains fixed, but cloud, tide, forest, and sea are all moving toward darkness. The tufted puffins use the final light for maintenance. Several bathe close to shore, beating their short wings against the surface and rolling through the water. Once ashore, each bird turns its bill toward the uropygial gland near the tail. then works the oily secretion through thousands of overlapping feathers. The treatment helps maintain the barrier that keeps cold seawater away from the skin. Without the air trapped within the plumage, a diving bird would lose heat rapidly. On the cliffs, paired puffins touch and rub their bills. This display, known as billing, helps reinforce the bond between breeding partners before they disappear into their burrows. Above them, the daylight hunters are withdrawing. A bald eagle returns to an old Sitka spruce and settles onto a wind-shaken branch. Glaucous-winged gulls gather on exposed rock. Common murres press closer together as shadows spread across the ledges. The sky fades from muted orange to deep blue. Under the forest floor, the direction of movement reverses. Carpenter ants retreat into cracks in wet bark. A cranefly lies flat beneath a broad leaf. Fine sand slips from roots into a dark tunnel as something stirs below. Fleas and ticks remain within the nesting material, but the storm petrels that carried them through the day are waking. The leech's storm petrel move toward the entrance. Only about 20 centimeters long, it spends most of its life over the open ocean. Tubular nostrils rise along the top of its bill, part of a highly developed sense of smell that helps it locate productive feeding areas and recognize the chemical world of its colony. They do not leave immediately. At the entrance, each bird waits while the final eagle and gull silhouettes disappear. Then one petrel steps onto the rock and launches. Another follows. Within minutes, the scale changes. Thousands become hundreds of thousands, and soon millions of wingbeats gather above the black cliffs. The flock twists into a vast, shifting funnel, each bird responding instantly to those beside it. From offshore, Forrester Island is almost featureless, a black mass beneath racing clouds. Yet the air above it seems alive. Then the formation opens. Leeches and fork-tailed storm petrels spread across the Pacific, descending until they fly just above the wave tops. Some hover and patter their feet against the surface while picking tiny crustaceans, fish, and other prey from the dark water. Behind them, the island does not fall silent. Puffins rest under roots, murres guard their ledges, otters sleep in kelp. Fleas, fungi, and decomposers continue their work below ground. The daylight city has closed. The night city has taken its place. the seabird cities of Forrester Island. As the storm petrels disperse into the black Pacific night, they enter a highly volatile pelagic zone. To understand the sophisticated biological sonar utilized by the apex predators tracking them through these abyssal depths, observe the mechanics of the deep water hunters right here.